Hello, my dear students. Welcome to the e-learning program. I, Dr. M.K. Devre, Professor and Head of the Department of the Physics, KTHM College, Nasik. I am going to take today's lecture on the TYBSc, the elective course, which is the laser. Dear student, we have already studied about the laser in FYBSc class. Now we have seen about what is the laser, and also we have seen about the working principle of the laser and the different types of the laser in FYBSc class. So students, you have already known about what do you mean by the laser, what is the working principle of the laser, and what are the different types of the laser. Now today's agenda for this lecture are the introduction to the laser, difference between the ordinary light and the laser, the quantum behavior of the light and the energy levels, the working principle of the laser, and also we are going to see the three processes related with the working principle of the laser, such as the absorption of the radiation, the spontaneous emission, and the stimulated emission. The today's learning objects are: what is the laser, what is difference between the ordinary light and the laser, what is the history of laser, what is the working principle of the laser, and also we are going to see the three processes related with the working of a laser. Now, such as the absorption of the radiation, the spontaneous emission, and the stimulated emission. Students, you have already known about the laser. The word laser is an acronym for the light amplification by the stimulated emission of the radiation. We know that laser is a device that emits the light through a process of the optical amplification based on the stimulated emission of the electromagnetic radiations. We can say that laser is a device that stimulates the atoms or the molecules to emit the light at a particular wavelength and amplifies that light, which typically producing a very narrow beam of the radiations. We can also say that the laser not only amplifies or increase the intensity of the light, but it also generates the light. The laser is perhaps the most important optical device to be developed in the past 50 years. Since its arrival in the 1960s, the development of the laser has been proved to be the turning point in the history of the science and the engineering. We know that it has produced completely the new type of the system with potential applications and the wide varieties of the field. Students, you know that nowadays we are using the laser in the different fields for the different types of the applications. The first laser was built in 1960 by T.H. Maiman at the Hughes Laboratory, which was based on the theoretical work given by the Charles Townes and the Arthur Shavalov. Students, we have studied the light in the ordinary light from at the school level also, and in the 11th and the 12th level also. But in FYBSc, we have studied about the laser, which is the new light. Now then, what is the difference between the ordinary light and the laser light? A laser is an unusual light source. The laser light is different from the conventional light source. The laser light has the extraordinary properties which are not present in the ordinary light source, such as the sun, or you can say that the incandescent lamp also. Due to that, laser having the very important role nowadays in different field, in a different applications here. Now then, we are going to see in details about what is the basic difference between the ordinary light and the laser light. We know that the ordinary light is a polychromatic because it consists of all the constituent colors of the light having the different wavelength which are ranging from 400 to the 700 nanometers. We know that when the white light will pass through the prism, then we observe the spectrum having the different colors which are ranging from the red to the violet and also having the different wavelength. But in case of that the laser is a device that produces an intense beam of the light which is the monochromatic. That means the light generated by the laser having the single wavelength. Now here we can see that when the light generated from the any laser source, then it having a single wavelength. The second difference is that the ordinary light source is incoherent, and due to that it diverges in all directions, and due to the intensity of the ordinary light decreases with the distance as it travels in the form of the short pulses of a small length and the short durations. So the intensity of the ordinary light goes on decreasing from the any source of that the ordinary light. But in case of the laser light, the laser beam is highly coherent, that is of the single frequency with the maximum amplitude and can focus to a very small spot. Now here in this figure we can see that the laser source which generates a beam of that the laser which are in the same phase, having the single frequency, and its divergence is very small, and due to that it travels only in one directions, which is parallel to the optic axis, and due to that the beam of the light generated from the laser source which is very highly intense and it produces a spot. The last difference is that the ordinary light is unpolarized, but in case of the laser light is polarized. Now here in this figure we can say that in case of that the ordinary light how it is unpolarized, and in case of that the laser beam, now how it get polarized. So we can see here in these two figures here. In shortly we can say that the laser light is the monochromatic, the laser light is a directional, the laser light is a coherent, and the laser light is a polarized. So remember what are the basic differences between the ordinary light and the laser light. Now students, now here we are going to see again the different learning objects, such as to state the working principle of a laser, to explain the three processes related with the working principle of a laser, such as the absorption of the radiation, spontaneous emission and the stimulated emission. Now before that, we are going to see about the quantum behavior of a light and the energy levels. Now students, you have already studied in 12th standard about the modern physics. Now in the 16th and the 17th century, or you can say that early in the modern study of the light, there was a great controversy about the light's nature. Some thought that the light was made up of the particles, while the other thought that it was made up of the waves. Both concepts explain some of the behavior of the light, but not all. But now in 1900, Max Planck proposed the theory that light consists of a discrete bundles or the chunks of the energy, and these bundles of the radiant energies are called the photons. So according to that, the Max Planck's theory, the Max Planck called the bundle of radiant energies are nothing but the quantas. In 1905, Einstein refined the Planck's quantum hypothesis and provided the theoretical justification for the features of the photoelectric effect, and he gave the name photon to the quantum of the light energy. So according to that, the Einstein given the name to that the bundle of the energy as a photon. Thus the light is made up of the particles which are called as a photons, which exhibit both the particle like and the wave like properties. So according to that, the Einstein, we can say that the light having the both nature, such as the particle like nature also and the wave like nature also. Each photon has the intrinsic energy which is determined by using the equation E is equal to the h nu. Now here the nu is the frequency of the light and h is the Planck's constant. Since for a wave the frequency and the wavelength are related by the equation, we have already known this equation, that is a relation between the frequency and the wavelength, which is expressed as C is equal to be nu lambda. Now here lambda is the wavelength of the light and C is the speed of the light in a vacuum. Therefore by using these two equations, we can write here the E is equal to be hc divided by the lambda. Students, in FYBSc and in 12th standard, you have already studied about the Bohr's atomic model. Now we can see here, according to that, the Bohr's atomic model, the electrons are revolving around the orbit, in that orbit around the nucleus. Now see here, the nucleus which is inside and the number of electrons which are present in the different orbits, they are revolving around the nucleus. In 1915, the Niels Bohr proposed a model of the atoms that was explained a wide variety of the phenomena that were puzzling the scientists in the late 19th century. Now this simple model becomes the basis of the field of the quantum mechanics, and although not fully accurate, but today's understanding still we are using, now this model is useful for demonstrating the laser principle. So you have to be remember about what is the basic Bohr's atomic model, in which the nucleus which is at the center and the electrons which are revolving around the nucleus in a different orbits. Now students, now in this figure we can see the single atom in which the nucleus which is at the center and the number of orbits in which the different electrons which are revolving in that orbit around this nucleus. The allowed energy states, which are called the quantum state, and these quantum states are referred by the principal quantum number such as 1, 2, 3 like this here. The quantum state are represented by the energy level diagrams. Now in this figure we can say that the first orbit near to the nucleus having the principal quantum number n is equal to 1 and its corresponding energy level say as the E1, which is also known as the ground state level, or that the ground state energy levels. Now as we go away from the nucleus, then the energy level will be increases according to the quantum number, such as for the second quantum number, say as the n is equal to 2. Now its energy the value of its energy level we can say as the E2 and like this here. So in case of that the material, now if when the number of the atoms close together, then there is the formation of the different energy levels, and due to the interaction between the nucleus, the interaction between the electrons and the interaction between the electrons and the nucleus, there is the small or the slight variation in the different values of the energy levels in the first energy level, in the second energy levels, and in this way there is the formation of the bands. We can say that the conduction band, valence band, and like this here. But now here you have to be remember that the every orbit of an atom which is corresponding to the energy level the energy level, and we say that the E1, E2, E3 like this here. The lowest energy level of the individual atoms occurs when an electrons are all in the nearest possible orbit to its nucleus, and this condition is called the ground state. So I have already told you the orbit which is near to the nucleus, which having the quantum number n is equal to be the 1, its energy value equal to be the E1, and that is known as the ground state. When one or more of the atoms or the electrons have absorbed the energy, they can move to the outer orbit, and the atom is then referred to as being a excited state. That means if any external radiation will be the incident on the atoms, now then the electrons from the lower energy state goes to the higher energy state, and that state is referred to as the excited state. Now in this figure we can see that the excitation of the atoms can be done by the different ways. That means we can use the different types of that the radiations. That is, for an electron to jump to a higher quantum state, the atom must receive the energy from the outside world. This can be happen through the variety of mechanism such as the inelastic or the semi-elastic collisions with the other atoms and the absorption of that the energy in the form of electromagnetic radiation, that is light. Now in this figure we can see that the electrons which is in the first orbit, or you can say that the ground level, now here it get radiated by the radiation such as the heat radiation, or you can use that the electricity, you can use the another type of that the radiation source also. Then that electrons absorb the energy and it goes to the next energy level or the higher energy levels. Now in this figure we can see here. Now when any external radiation incident on the atoms, now then the atoms absorbs the energy and it goes to the excited state. That is, the electron jump from the lower energy state to the higher energy state. But the electron will not stay there for a long duration of that the time. It again comes to the lower energy state, and when the electron comes to the lower energy state, that means from a higher energy state to the lower energy state, that times the energy will be the given out. That is, we can say that the energy will be the emitted. So now in this figure we can say that when the electrons jump from the lower energy state to the higher energy level or the higher energy state, that times the energy will be get absorbed. But in case of that, when the electron goes from higher energy level to the lower energy level, that times the energy will be emitted. Now in this case here, we can see here that when an electron drops from the higher energy state, higher state to the lower state, the atom must give off the energy, either which is the kinetic activity, that is the non-radiative transition, or as the electromagnetic radiation, that is the radiative transition. So in this case we can observe the both types of the radiation, that is the non-radiative transition also, and we can observe the radiative transitions also. While and the electron goes from the lower state to the higher state, the atom must absorb the energy. For the light energy to causes an electrons to move from the lower energy state, you can say as the En, to the higher energy state, you can say as the Em, the energy of the single photon must be equal and almost exactly. Then the atoms will absorb the energy and it goes to the higher state. That is the energy difference between the two states. That is the energy difference between the two states. Likewise, when an electron decay to a lower energy level in a radiative transition, the photon of the light given off by the atom must also have the energy equal to the energy difference between the two states here. That means we can say that when the energy of the incident photon equal to the energy difference between the two levels, then the electron will absorb the energy and it goes to the excited state. Otherwise it will not go to the excited state. Now same thing, when the electrons come from the higher energy state, higher energy level to the energy level, that times it emits the energy, that is it emits the photon which also having the energy equal to be the difference between the two energy levels. That means we can say that here the Em minus En, that is the difference between the higher energy level to the lower energy level, is equal to be the h nu or you can say that the hc divided by the lambda. So students, now this point is very important, and you have to be remember that the incident photon must have the energy equal to be the energy difference between the two energy levels. Now see here, now in this case here, we are going to see in details about the working principle of the lasers here. Now first, now in this figure, now the working principle of the laser is basically depends upon the well-known quantum theory. Now let us consider, now in this figure, if the medium consists of the identical atoms of capable being the excited from the energy level, say as the 1 to the energy level 2 by absorption of that the photon. Now in this figure, if we consider the first energy level is denoted by, or the lower energy level is denoted by the E1, and the upper energy level is denoted by the E2, and the population of the atoms or that the electrons in the lower energy level say as the N1, and in the upper energy level say as the N2. Now let the atoms, if we are considering in a thermal equilibrium state, now then what will happen here? In a thermal equilibrium condition, the number of atoms transition upward must be equal to the number of the downward transitions, and thus no net photons are generated or the lost. That means in case of that the thermal equilibrium, we can say that there is the no emission or there is the no absorption, because there is the no transition we observe here from the lower energy state to the higher, or the higher energy state to the lower, because that the number of the atoms goes from the lower energy state to the higher energy state are equal to the number of the atoms goes from the higher energy state to the lower energy state. Now basically, when the atoms are subjected to an external light of the frequency say as the nu, now then we can observe the three processes, or the three processes can occur in that laser medium. The first one is the absorption of the radiation, second one is the spontaneous emission, and third one is the stimulated emission. Now then we are going to see in details about the absorption of the radiation, or what do you mean by the absorption of the radiation. Now in this figure we can see that in the first part, now here is the incident photon which is incident on the electrons which is in the lower energy level say as the E1. The incident photon having the energy equal to be the h nu, when the electrons which is in the lower energy level absorbs the energy of the incident photon, then it goes to the excited state. That excited state, or it goes to the higher energy level, and that higher energy level is known as the excited state. That means during the absorption, the electron goes from by absorbing the energy from the incident photon, goes from the lower energy level to the higher energy level. Now in a second part we can see that after that absorption, the electron stay there in the higher energy level for a few times there. That means electron jump to the excited state after absorbing the energy from the incident photons. Now in this case here, now here when the photons of the light energy equal to the energy difference of the two energy levels say as the E2 minus E1 is incident on the atoms, now then the ground state electrons gain the sufficient energy and jump from ground state E1 to the excited state. When the photons or the light energy equal to the energy difference between the electron in the lower energy state cannot jump into the higher energy state because they need the sufficient energy in order to jump into the higher energy state. When the energy difference between the two energy levels E2 minus E1 is equal to the h nu is incident on the atom, the ground state electron gain the sufficient energy and jump from ground state E1 to the excited state E1. Now here we are going to see in details about what do you mean by the spontaneous emission. Students, the spontaneous emission is the process by which the electron in the excited state return to the ground state by emitting the photons. In the previous slide, we have seen that when the electron goes from the lower energy level to the higher energy level, now then that electrons will stay there for some limited interval of the time. And that is known as the lifetime of the electrons. And the lifetime of the electrons, which is generally 10 raised to minus 8 seconds. After that lifetime, the electron goes to the lower energy state. That means in this figure we can see the two parts. In the first part, now see here, the electron which is in the higher energy level, after the lifetime of the electron, it goes to the lower energy level, and during that it emits the radiation which having the photon having the energy is equal to the h mu. Such a type of the radiation, when the electron goes from the higher energy level to the lower energy level, and that process is known as the spontaneous emission. Thus, after the short lifetime of the excited electron, they return to the lower energy state or the ground state by releasing the energy in the form of the photons. The photons which are emitted in the spontaneous emission process, the constituent ordinary incoherent light. The incoherent light is a beam of the photons with the frequency and the random changes of the phases between them. In other words, we can say that the photons emitted in the spontaneous emission process do not follow exactly in the same direction of the incident photons. That means, in shortly we can say that during a spontaneous emission, the radiation emitted during the spontaneous emission, which is incoherent, and they are moving in different directions. So remember, this is a very important point in case of the spontaneous emission. In a spontaneous emission, the electron in the excited state will remains there until its lifetime is over. After completing their lifetime, they return to the ground state by releasing the energy in the form of light. Now then, the third process we are going to see about the stimulated emission. What do you mean by that, the stimulated emission? In a spontaneous emission, we have seen that after that the lifetime, the electron goes from the higher energy level to the lower energy level, and during that process there is the emission of that the radiation, and that emission of the radiation is incoherent. But in case of the stimulated emission, if the incident radiation will directly incident on the excited electrons, then before the lifetime it comes to the ground state. So now in this figure, now here we can see the two parts. In the first part, now here that the excited electrons which is incident on, the incident radiation or the incident photon having the frequency say as the h nu, which is incident on the electron which is in the excited state. So before the lifetime, forcefully now it comes to the ground state, and during that transition it emits the radiation, and that radiations are known as the stimulated type of the emission. So the stimulated emission is the process by which the incident photon interact with the excited electron and forces it to return to the ground state. Or we can say that in a stimulated emission, the light energy is supplied directly to the excited electron instead of supplying the light energy to the ground state electrons. When the electrons in the excited state will remain there until its lifetime is over. After completing their lifetimes, they return to the ground state by releasing the energy in the form of the light. However, in a stimulated emission, the electron is excited, the electrons which is in the excited state need no need to wait for a completion of their lifetime, and alternative, by using the alternative technique, we use forcefully to return the excited electron to the ground state before the completion of their lifetime, and this technique is known as the stimulated emission. So all the emitted photons in the stimulated emission have the same energy, the same frequency, and are in the same phase. Therefore, all photons in the stimulated emission travels in the same directions, and due to that the laser radiation, the laser beam which is generated from the laser source is the coherent and the unidirectional. So remember students, remember about the basic difference between the three processes, such as the absorption, the spontaneous emission, and the stimulated emission, because the working of the any type of the laser is depends on these three type of the processes. Now I am going to give some assignment related with this topic, such as what is the laser light. Now explain the importance of the energy level diagram in laser. Now explain the three processes with the neat diagram. And in shortly, what we have seen in this lecture, now we have seen about what do you mean by the laser. We have seen the introduction about the laser also. Now we have seen the quantum behavior of the light and the energy levels also, and the basic principle of the lasers and the three processes such as the absorption of the radiation, spontaneous emission and the stimulated emission. Students, in next lecture we will see in details about the population density and also the Boltzmann distribution law. So, please remember about the what do you mean by the laser and the three processes of the laser, three processes which are related with the working principle of the laser. Thank you.